My mom just made a joke about me making dirty videos, and I seriously cannot stop cringing. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Karen, and today I'm going to be doing 25 bookish facts about me. So I guess this is kind of a tag that has been going around for a while now, and it's really popular with booktubers, so I thought I might as well try it, and this way you'll get to know a little bit more about me. I actually had a really hard time coming up with 25 book-related facts about me, so I had to watch a few other videos just to kind of see what things people were talking about, but I think I've got some good ones here, so hopefully you'll all enjoy it. I actually wrote them all down in my Miss Peregrine's journal for peculiar children so I would remember them all. Fact number 1, I, for the life of me, cannot multitask while reading. Lots of people talk about how they can actually eat and drink coffee or tea while they're reading, but I can do nothing else while I'm reading. I have to just be focused on that. I used to be able to listen to music while I was reading, but I can't even do that anymore. It just distracts me way too much and I don't process anything that I'm reading. I've tried to eat and drink while I've been reading before, but I always end up having to take a break from reading just to have a sip of tea. Like, it's horrible. Number 2 is I am a slow reader. Most people who read a lot tend to actually be very fast readers. I have never been a fast reader at all. I would say I actually probably read at the pace that I talk at, because I kind of hear the voice narrating the story in my head, and I also really visualize what's going on as I'm reading. If I try to read super fast, I don't process anything that's going on. Not like horribly slow, but I'm not as fast as a reader as I'd like to be. Definitely not up to par with most of the speeds that most booktubers can read at, that's for sure. Fact number 3 is I actually have 2 book-related postgraduate certificates, the first one being in creative writing and the second one in creative book publishing. I think deep down I've always known that I've wanted to have some sort of a career that had to do with books, which is why I ended up taking both of those programs from Humber College. So far I've managed to get 1 internship having those 2 certificates, really hoping to be able to maintain a career in publishing going forward. Fact number 4 is I have actually written the first draft of a book. One of my dreams in life is to actually have a published novel, and once I was able to complete my first draft as part of my creative writing program, I was so hopeful that that dream might one day come true. I have a lot of changes I need to make when I go and work on the second draft, which I'm hoping to start very soon, but I'm very optimistic about the idea that I have. I think it's really good, and I think it's a story that many people, especially those interested in contemporary YA, will really enjoy. I'm really excited to see if I'm able to make something happen with my story. Fact number 5 is I have never listened to an audiobook. To me, I feel like audiobooks are kind of cheating. Like, I feel like it only really counts as having read a book if you truly read the book. I'm not saying I would never listen to an audiobook. I just don't think that I would be able to pay attention as well as I would if I was reading the actual book. I think I would have the tendency to just kind of start daydreaming and things like that while it was playing. Fact number 6 is I get super irritated when people don't know the true definition of novel. So for anyone that doesn't know, a book can only be considered a novel if it is a work of fiction. If you have a nonfiction book and you call it a novel, you are actually making a huge mistake. And I've seen so many posts on Instagram and videos on YouTube and stuff lately where people will hold up nonfiction and be like, oh, check out this novel. That's not a novel. That is a book. That is just a book. Do not call it a novel. It annoys me so much. And I know that's not something a lot of people know, but it's like, ugh, learn your definitions, bookish people, please. Fact number 7 is certain themes and topics will completely turn me off from reading a book. I'm generally not too picky when it comes to a lot of things that go on within books, but I hate when the main idea of a book is something that is just totally unrealistic and sends a lot of people the wrong message, especially with contemporary YA. I think that's an issue that we see a lot. There's so many books that will basically be about some outcast girl and then this new bad boy comes to town and then there's secrets and romance and blah blah blah. It's like, when have you honestly seen that happen in real life? And I don't know what kind of message that's sending, but it irritates me. Just weird, totally out there ideas like that. If you cannot apply some sort of realism to it, I don't want to read it. There needs to be some sort of positive message and some sort of real-world application to the story in order for me to want to read it. Fact number 8 is if you let me go inside of a bookstore, I will buy something. You cannot let me go into a bookstore and expect me to not spend money. It's just not gonna happen. If you let me spend a long period of time in there and let me wander around, chances are I will walk out with about $200 worth of stuff. I am so bad when it comes to purchasing books. I just love the atmosphere of bookstores, and I just can't go into a bookstore and not pick something up. My sister literally had to drag me out once because if she had let me shop in there any longer, I was gonna buy something. Fact number 9 is that some of my happiest childhood memories involve Scholastic book orders and the Scholastic Book Fair. I think we all can agree, even if you're not that much of a book lover, that was the best thing about elementary school, hands down. Fact number 10 is I consider Stephen King to be one of my favorite authors, but I have only read 3 of his books. And I know that probably sounds crazy to a lot of people considering this guy has written over 100 different works. And I do own a lot of his books, I just haven't gotten to them all yet. But I don't think you necessarily need to read everything an author has written to know how great they are. Anyone else that has read Stephen King knows just how great he is. For me, it honestly took just reading Carrie and Salem's Lot to know that he is someone, as an aspiring writer and a longtime reader, that I just absolutely look up to. Fact number 11 is if I am reading a hardcover book, I will use the jacket as a bookmark. Which I know some people probably cringe at that idea because it's kind of similar to folding the corners and things like that, but I don't know, I just find it kind of handy that it's there and you might as well take the flap and stick it in there to mark your place. Fact number 12 is that my 2 favorite genres are classic literature and contemporary YA. So they're kind of very different genres from each other, but those just happen to be the 2 that I go to most. I can't explain why, I just love them both equally. Fact number 13 is I will forever be angry that Louise Renison did not get the recognition she deserved following her death. I know I have mentioned her death in 2 other videos now, but I'm not over it. I'm not over it. She wrote probably one of the funniest book series I have ever read, and I still think she deserves more praise than she got for her lifetime achievements. Fact number 14 is my TBR pile is disgustingly large. My mom actually purchased a brand new bookcase recently for us to put all of our books that we haven't read yet, and all of the books that I still need to read take up pretty much more than half of the bookshelf. And I crammed as many as I could into each shelf. Like, it looks really unattractive right now, but I didn't want to take up the whole thing. Fact number 15 is I'm trying to be more open to other genres that I wouldn't typically read. If I had started BookTube probably a year ago, chances are I would have made statements like, oh, you'll never see me reading dystopian YA, you'll never see me reading fantasy YA, you'll never see me reading any fantasy or science fiction, things like that. But over the past few months, I've found myself being more drawn to the dystopian YA and other books that I just would not have normally picked up. I have a lot of books that I'm hoping to purchase that a year ago I would have just rolled my eyes out. A few months back, I even purchased a book that's genre is just so out of my comfort zone just because a guy I was crushing on really liked it. I really don't want to say what book or genre that is because if they're watching this, I don't want them to really figure out that it's them that I'm talking about. Which I know that sounds really pathetic to admit, but I'm really hoping that just weird coincidences like that will maybe lead me to discovering books I might not have otherwise picked up. Fact number 16 is I love the final chapter of A Clockwork Orange. So for those of you that have read it and know the history of it, a lot of people actually dislike the final chapter. It was originally published in the UK where a lot of people were more open to it, but once it was going to be published in the US, the publishers decided that they were going to leave it out because they did not think a lot of people would enjoy it. And since they have started publishing it with the final chapter, a lot of people are totally turned off by it. Like, they don't like what happens in it. I'm the total opposite. I actually really enjoyed the final chapter of that book. I'm really glad that Anthony Burgess included it when he wrote it. Most people talk about how when they're reading books, they really just don't want it to end. Like, they want to continue following along with what the characters are doing. And I've always really enjoyed reading books, but when I close the book and it's finally done, I'm kind of at peace. And that was the first time I was actually reading a book where it's like, I need to know what happens to Alex. I can't be left here. I need to know. That chapter really had me feeling like that, and I just thought it was so interesting. Fact number 17 is I hardly ever take out books from the library. I don't know why, I just prefer to own my books rather than borrow them, I guess. I also don't like the fact that you have a time set on how long you have to read the book. Sometimes they take a lot longer, and I don't like having that pressure while I'm reading. Fact number 18 is I actually prefer hardcovers. Now, most people say they like the look of hardcovers and prefer reading paperbacks and they despise mass market, but I actually hands down prefer hardcover books. I think they look amazing and I always feel really special when I'm reading them. Fact number 19 is I actually get very bad anxiety when I go a long time without reading. If it's been a long time since I've read a book, or if I've had to stop reading one and I haven't gone back to it for a while, I just feel like I'm not doing something I'm supposed to be doing. It bothers me so much when I haven't found the time to read. I'm feeling a lot of that right now too, so I'm really hoping I'll be able to find some time soon that I'll be able to just sit down and spend the day reading, because I could really use that right now. I'm sorry, I'll come back to you soon. Fact number 20 is my sister is the only person I will lend a book to. I guess part of it is because she's family and I know where she lives, but she's honestly the only one I trust with my books. She actually handles them well, and I know I'm going to get them back. Although she borrowed 1,000 Splendid Suns from me and it was a little bit beat up, but I'm not going to hold that against her because I mean, she didn't get dirt on the pages or anything like that, so it's fine. Fact 21 is I actually prefer to read during the day. I will read at night, but I always just feel very weird reading close to bedtime. It just bothers me for some reason. Fact 22 is I actually want to see a film adaptation of The Catcher in the Rye before I die. I know there's a lot of controversy around that, especially since J.D. Salinger did not want it adapted into a film. And people have argued that it will be really hard to adapt, but I would just love to see what they do with it. I'm really hoping that they'll find a way to do it before I leave this world, because it's actually one of my favorite books from high school and I'd love to see what they would do with it. Fact 23 is I will actually read a hardcover book with the dust jacket on. Every once in a while, I'll actually take it off when I'm reading, but I've actually been able to read it with the dust jacket on and have it not bother me. Now, some people, it really irks them and they need to have it off, but I'm a bit of a rebel. I can read with it on. Fact 24 is I absolutely despise organizing bookshelves. It is the most exhausting thing I've ever had to do, and every time I do it, I just want to give up. Like, it's horrible. And I always want it to look really pretty and kind of Instagram worthy, but I've never really been able to actually get my bookshelf to that point. And fact 25, the only book I own multiple copies of is If You Feel Too Much by Jamie Twarkowski. I know I've brought this book up multiple times on my channel now, but I own 3 copies of this book. I have an edition from when the book first came out. I have an edition of it that was actually signed by Jamie, which I love. This is probably my favorite one. And then I also have the extended edition that has additional writings in it. I just loved that book so much, so I was able to justify purchasing 2 additional copies of it. A lot of other books I don't have any other copies of just because I haven't been able to justify purchasing more. I feel like once I have a copy of it, like, that's my copy, I'm good. But I mean, there's no saying that something might come up in the future that will make me purchase more editions of books I already own. It's just that's the only one at this point. Alright guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope some of those facts were at least somewhat interesting. If you liked this video, please feel free to like and comment. And if you like what I do in all of my videos, I would really appreciate a subscribe. Again, thank you for watching. As always, spread love and don't be a troll. Bye!